Alright, hello fun and welcome back to my Fallout 4 Mod Spotlight series, where today we are having a look at the Chinese Laser Revolver mod, which is being made by user Soroka90. And what this glorious little piece of work looks to add into the game is a wonderful new laser revolver made by the communist Chinese. And this thing is pretty fun. I quite like it because not only is it a new energy weapon, and I always love seeing those being added into the game, but it's a novel idea of a revolver-based laser pistol, and one made by one of the other major powers in this franchise's universe, which is pretty neat. So let's jump on over here and have a look at what we do get with the Laser Revolver pistol, which in its most basic form will do 24 physical damage as well as 16 energy damage using the usual fusion cell with a firing rate of 7, range of 11, accuracy of 66 for a weight of 4.5. Not too bad there. And as you can see, this thing is pretty freaking awesome. It's a little bit more like hardcore sci-fi than I would have liked, frankly, just with my personal aesthetic, but overall it is still pretty darn cool, and I think fits in decently enough in this world with its looks. And all in all, it's just great. Beautiful modeling, beautiful texturing, a lot of great details. I do very much enjoy it. Now, there are not, sadly, a whole lot of modifications that you can add to this gun, but enough to make it a bit more useful into the later game, and also add in some aesthetic options, which is pretty cool. Now, one of the biggest downsides to this weapon is, of course, its very low range for the gun, which you wouldn't expect from a laser weapon, and that's hopefully something that does get fixed in a future update, which I'm hoping it will. We've already seen one update to this mod since release, so hopefully we get some more, because as we'll talk about in a little bit, some of the modifications make this range even worse, which again, laser weapon. That's the biggest problem with this mod right now, but still not one that I would say is a deal breaker, because it is still a useful and fun weapon. So how do you get your hands on one of these lovely things? Well, there is only one in the entire world for you to find, and you will find that particular one over in Sanctuary, and specifically down in the Sanctuary root cellar, where it will just be sitting there on a shelf. And yeah, once you got it, that's it. It is the only version in the world, and in fact, that particular gun right there is the one I grabbed from Sanctuary, which you can tell it already does have, well, of course, a different sight rather than iron sights. We do have a reflex scope built into the gun, and if you do spawn more into the world like I did for this episode here, they all pop in with that same sight, so there are no iron sights for this weapon. But yeah, just the one in the world to find, and that is it. Which does make sense. It is a unique Chinese-made gun, so you're not going to find them scattered about. Now, as for the different modifications, let's jump over here to the weapon workbench. In the receiver category, we've got the pretty typical stuff of calibrated, full, hardened, etc. The most powerful one is the full receiver, which actually will bump up your damage pretty darn good here to 42 physical and 20 on the energy, which is magnificent. I really do like that. And in fact, for the weapon testing later, I'm just gonna install that right on there now because, well, it's nice. Now, in the barrel category, it comes by default with nothing. And this is another one of the problems I do have with the mod, is that once you go in here and add something, that's when the gun gets worse with the range that I was mentioning earlier. The transformer will bring it to 0, the polarizer will bring it to -17, and the focuser will bring it to -5. Now, even with the polarizer with that -17 does not mean you can't shoot things. It is still a gun that can shoot. It just means you got a big accuracy drop-off, and I'm not 100% sure, maybe someone in the comments can correct me on this, but you seem to have a drop-off in damage once the gun is past its range, so unless you're like point blank, you're not going to get the full damage, it seems. And yeah, that's really the biggest thing that does definitely need to be fixed. That, and also just having something in here where there's not something on the barrel. But for the time being, I would suggest just not to do any of these. But of course, if you do, they'll help with recoil recoil, better shot per shot damage. The polarizer there getting the best, bring it up to 42 and 30, which is pretty good if you don't mind that negative 17 range. Oh boy. Then in the grip category, we've got the standard, a comfort, a marksman, recoil compensating, sharpshooter, and a stock with a recycling battery to help with your ammo capacity there, which is pretty good. And of course, it will turn it into more of a carbine sort of a gun. Now then in the sights, we've got a pretty good list of things from long scopes, medium scopes, reflex, and short scopes of different types and varieties, which is pretty cool, which does give you a lot of good options. I do very much like. And again, like I said there, no iron sights on this thing. It's just going to be one of these things. And finally, we've got the material, which is pretty fun because we can change up the aesthetics of this thing to a black, blue, green, or red plastic body for this weapon, which is pretty sweet. Not a whole lot of options here for the aesthetics, but I'd say enough for most people, at least in my mind. And yeah, that is it for the different mods we can put on this gun. So let me go grab some of my modified ones over here, and there we are. And there we are, and take some shots first with the, for the most part, stock, and fire. And there we go. 6 shots out of our lovely little laser revolver here. And of course, it is borrowing the animations from the standard in-game revolvers. And rather than having a hammer, which I find interesting, it's got that little red button up there that you press to reload rather than, you know, pulling back a hammer, which is interesting, but an odd and unique way to get around the whole reuse of the revolver animation there. A very interesting addition. Weird, but honestly, I kind of like it. It seems kind of Fallout, reloading by button for an energy weapon. Very cool. Now let's pull out some of the modified ones, which have those 0 or negative range. We'll do the recoil compensating one here first, just to show that even with that 0 range, we can still, in fact, hit those. As you can see, the light going on and off down there, so it's not going to make it so you can't shoot things. I just think it's really going to lower that damage. And overall, though, it's still a usable gun, which is pretty cool. And then, of course, our supercharged version here, which is the most powerful I was able to get it, with the 42 and 30 on the damage, and with a short scope, which kind of is interesting, having a short scope on a gun that has a negative 17 range. The intention of having a short-range sniping laser revolver turned into, well, something with negative range. Alright, so let us pop in some of our usual combatants of, we're actually going to go with the Raiders rather than the, our usual Deathclaw because of that negative range. I was playing with the Deathclaw earlier, and since with how I cheesed them in the distance, I could barely do any damage to him when he was at a distance. But hello, you! Die, Raider scum! There we are. As you can see, even at that distance, with negative 17 range, I was still able to do some damage there. But if we do pop in another, and very quickly... Oh, nope, wrong button. There we go. I meant to Q. Just get in some good shots with VATS, which missed, of course it did. Lovely, lovely, lovely. There we go, he is dead. I missed most of those shots. Alright, but let's go to the, our just standard one here, so that we have its full 11 range. And go into Q. Oh my god, 50% hit, but able to get 3 shots on him with this particular one. Oh god, and he just explodes. Magnificent. Okay, pop in another, and let's just hit him at a bit of range there. There we go. Alright, not too bad on the damage when I actually do hit him. Nice. So yeah, biggest issue with this gun is that oddity with the range, which hopefully is something that will get fixed in the future. Like I said, the mod maker has already done one update since release, so hopefully we do see some more fixing that primary issue. And also fixing the thing where you can't remove the barrel things would be nice as well. But definitely still a fun weapon to check out. And if you'd like to see this weapon for yourself, which I'd certainly recommend you go and do, you can have a look at the link in the description of the video, as per usual. That's going to be it for today, my friends. Hopefully you have enjoyed it, and you do come back for whatever we do look at next. But until that time, thank you for watching. As always, we'll have a good one.